Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Indo Politics from the Irish Independent. I'm Tabitha Monaghan. We are coming to you earlier this week as we are going to be crossing over to Washington DC after Micheál Martin met with US President Donald Trump in the Oval Office.
It's a great honour to have Taoiseach Martin from Ireland.
While the 40-minute meeting was dominated by Iran and Nato, there were some questions relating to Ireland in there too, from a potential trip to Doonbeg for the Irish Open later this year, to the comments made by President Catherine Connolly on the Iran war.
Look, he's lucky I exist. That's all I can say.
To go through how this meeting in the Oval Office went, I'm joined by my colleagues Conal Thomas in the studio and by political editor of the Irish Independent, Mary Regan, who's over in Washington DC. Mary, going over to you, you're fresh out of the Oval Office now. Before we go into the nitty-gritty of what was said and how things went in that meeting, give us a little bit of the atmosphere, how things were feeling. It's a very intense, pressurised situation, I would imagine.
It was very intense in that room. We were in there for 40 minutes. And unlike previous occasions, there was a lot of interest from US-based, Washington-based journalists in this meeting, simply because of everything happening with Iran and the conflict across the Atlantic over the EU and UK's rejection of calls from Donald Trump to help them out there. I mean, there was a lot of interest from the US media. So there were at least 40 or so journalists in the room. Then there were delegations from both sides, from the White House, from the Irish side as well. So it was it was a cauldron, and it was survival of the fittest in many ways, because everybody wanted to get their point across, their question in, wanted something to say, and it was elbows out really for a spot. So, you know, Micheál Martin started off really allowing Trump to sort of steal the show. It was Donald Trump's moment, and Micheál Martin was more or less a bystander, as were much of the Irish press, in the sense that Donald Trump was there speaking about Iran, and there were a lot of questions coming his way from the US-based media. But then when he really started digging in with his criticism of Keir Starmer in particular, and also Emmanuel Macron as well, who he said, you know, would be out of office soon, you could see the Taoiseach, you know, weighing up in his mind what he had to do here. He tried to interject. Micheál Martin attempted to interject a couple of times, and that proved hard for him, because you had someone of the dominant stature of Donald Trump keeping on talking, and then you had a huge press corps shouting questions. But I think Micheál Martin knew that he couldn't sit there and, you know, say nothing any longer when it really came to that criticism of Keir Starmer. And that's what he had to do. He knew he had to step up and stand up for one friend while not upsetting the other friend.
Yeah, and we're going to come to the Iran and NATO, which, like you said, dominated him standing up for Keir Starmer and for Europe as well. But I want to go into some of the Irish interests that came out of this. So first of all, Donald Trump is going to try to come to the Irish Open.
Yeah, I mean, he gave sort of positive indication that he absolutely would. Of course, the reporters there were more interested in whether he was going to go to China in a few weeks' time or not. But that was the sort of easy in question, Donald Trump saying that he would like to come. And even here at the Capitol's the Speaker's lunch in the Capitol, he referred to Doonbeg on a couple of occasions. So I think he is, you know, gearing up. The invitation is there and it's standing, and if it's something he's interested in doing, then we can expect to see him in Ireland in September, schedule allowing.
Yeah. Catherine Connolly and her comments in relation to the attack on Iran, when she said it was a deliberate attack on international law, that potentially could have been a very tricky question for Micheál Martin to have to face, you know, especially in the presence of Donald Trump. He was asked that, Donald Trump was asked about those comments and what he made of them. It was clear that he didn't really know who Catherine Connolly was. But I think it went as well as Micheál Martin could have hoped in relation to that question.
I think Micheál Martin will be very relieved that he managed to not get into any scrap, not get into any confrontation with Donald Trump. That is what he needed to do. But at the same time, he couldn't sit back and allow Donald Trump to criticise his allies in the EU and the UK So from Micheál Martin's perspective, he managed to avoid any confrontation with Donald Trump, while at the same time pushing back against Donald Trump's criticism of the EU and the UK. And that for Micheál Martin is a win. That for Micheál Martin is a result, because he can legitimately come out of that Oval Office and say, I didn't sit back and let Donald Trump say whatever the hell he wanted. I did press, Europe's interests, Ireland's interests, and we're all still friends. And the atmosphere was still, at the end of it, warm, and no alliances damaged in the making of a 40-minute Oval Office encounter.
Mary, could I just ask you, so much of the conversation was dominated by Iran, as we know, right? And I think I worked it out that about 29 minutes of the 40 minutes came down to Iran. And as you say, Micheál Martin had to interject there. Were you surprised at how Micheál Martin did interject and on the points he did interject on, around Keir Starmer defending him, around migration in Europe, around how it's still a good place to live? And I know you say he has this balance to strike, but he did seem to go further than he would have last year when his appearance with Donald Trump was a bit meeker, I would have said.
Yeah, and I felt Micheál Martin was a bit more, for want of a better term, emboldened compared to what he was last year. And that's because in many respects, Trump is in a far weaker position than he was this time last year. He is waging this war in Iran, which is unpopular here in the US, which is driving up the cost of fuel and the price of the pumps. And he's also losing friends in Europe, and he's taking on this battle now with Keir Starmer and other allies who he asked, please help me out freeing up the Strait of Hormuz, and there was no takers. So Donald Trump is in a weaker position. But also Micheál Martin, I felt maybe he felt he had less to lose this year, and he is heading to a European Council summit straight from DC tomorrow. So he couldn't really arrive in with all his European counterparts having sat in his hands during that meeting. Another factor of consideration for Micheál Martin was that the German Chancellor, Friedrich Merz, who was here about 2 weeks ago, during that particular meeting, Donald Trump also had a go at Keir Starmer, also, said Keir Starmer is no Winston Churchill. And there was no pushback from the German Chancellor to that. And he got criticism from other EU member states. EU leaders were said to have been annoyed with him that he didn't stand up, not just for the UK, but for Europe during that meeting. And he was also criticised largely from his public, and it did contribute to unpopularity for him. So Micheál Martin might have been looking at that saying, yes, Ireland, or yes, the US is a very important ally of Ireland, but we're also very proud members of the European Union. We also have this very important bilateral relationship with our nearest neighbours, the UK. I can't stand back here and let this pass. But he handled it very well, I thought, because he sort of, I won't say made light of it, but when Donald Trump started speaking about Europe and the EU, and he said it won't be around for much longer if it keeps going with its immigration and energy policies, Micheál Martin kind of smiled and said, well, it's still a very great place to live. And, he then defended, the immigration systems. And the same with Keir Starmer. Micheál Martin was sort of, he didn't call out Trump in it. He was more taking a more of a sort of praise him approach, a Mullen Oige kind of approach, saying, oh, you and Keir Starmer got on very well in the past and you'll get on very well in the future, all this sort of thing. So it was more,
Micheál Martin had to be careful because we would have just had the UK-Ireland summit here last week, as we said, which, has been heralded as this kind of reset since Starmer came in. But did you get the impression in the room, Mary? Because one thing that occurred to me was that Donald Trump frequently lashes out at people he doesn't like in these meetings. And given what we've seen with NATO allies the last few days, given that his counter-terrorism chief has just stood down earlier today, was there a sense of Trump being a little bit like a caged animal in this meeting?
His back was to the wall, certainly. And at a few points when journalists were, all trying to shout questions above each other, Trump pointed to, one or two of his more favoured journalists. One of them who was asking him about the BBC and his libel case against the BBC, giving Donald Trump a really easy, out there, to have a go at fake news. So Donald Trump is in a difficult position. This meeting with Micheál Martin came at like a really, really critical juncture for Donald Trump's administration, because he's now deciding between two very difficult choices on whether to fight on in this war or whether to halt it. And if he continues to battle on and the prices still keep going up at the pumps, and he's still down, causes more political damage at home while causing further drifts with his NATO allies and his transatlantic allies, that's a difficult option. But if he stops the war without having achieved what you would expect his objectives to be, even though we don't know, but if he stops this war while not, disarming Iran's ability to create a nuclear weapon, then that's a bad choice too. So he's in a difficult situation now. He needs friends. He mightn't have needed friends as badly at the White House meeting with the Taoiseach last year, but this time he needs friends, and he needs a friendly face and a friendly encounter. And you could tell that he was happy to sort of have that with Micheál Martin.
Ultimately, Mary, do you think Micheál Martin played this right in the end? He chose his moments to stand up, but I think a lot of the criticism I would expect now from the opposition will be that he actually sat back for quite a long time and didn't speak for a lot. So even when I was watching it, I thought his demeanour, he was a lot more confident than he was last year. He was sitting back. He just allowed everything to play out. Do you think that was the right strategy going into that meeting?
I think he was very relaxed in what is this, heavy atmosphere, political cauldron. I mean, the air is hot and heavy in that room. It's packed and it's filled with tension. And you could see it across the delegations from the Irish side and the US side. And Micheál Martin was potentially the most relaxed person in that room. And if he was tense, he certainly wasn't showing it. And I think he did play it right. I think this meeting tested his diplomatic skills and his political skills to their absolute limit. I mean, he would have been thinking on the spot how to respond here. And I think the fact that he managed to push back against Donald Trump when it came to the UK, when it came to Europe, while at the same time not getting embroiled in a row, I mean, that is as much as he could have hoped for. The only difficult part, I think, for Micheál Martin will be the question about President Catherine Connolly and her criticism of Trump's war in Iran. And Donald Trump was asked about that. That could have proved to be a real awkward moment for Micheál Martin. But I think, lucky for him, Donald Trump didn't go after President Connolly. Donald Trump seemed to not know who President Connolly was, or at least pretended he didn't know. He said, he referred to her as he, and then he just continued to talk about the Iran war and the regime. So it was not really a moment where Micheál Martin could have interjected, but at the same time, when there was no direct criticism of Catherine Connolly, there was probably no major need for Micheál Martin to interject, or any possibility for him to interject. Another thing you could argue and make the point that he could have raised, for example, the killing of in a school, 160 schoolgirls and their teachers. Could Micheál Martin have expressed, the horror at that killing? Yes, he could, and he would probably come under criticism for that. But at the same time, he was approaching this far more diplomatically, talking about how Ireland prefers a peaceful outcome and pressing the need for peace. So I think in many ways he might have gone further than many people would have expected, but maybe not as far as many people might have hoped for. So at the end of it, he will be, I think, willing to take it on the chin a little bit back home for having avoided the alternative, which is a row with Donald Trump, which would have been embarrassing and damaged the relationship between Ireland and the US.
You've touched on a little bit there, Mary, but finally, can I just ask you, how do you think that meeting will be received at home, particularly by the various political parties and the opposition parties? And Holly Cairns would have come out with a statement now in the last hour saying this was a missed opportunity. How do you think this will go down domestically?
I think it'll go down as well as it could have, because the opposition were always going to criticise whatever Micheál Martin did in there. And they were always going to criticise the fact that he wasn't going to directly confront Donald Trump on the war. But Micheál Martin was never going to do that. And, you know, I think in many respects he might have gone further than might have been expected from him. So he will take criticism back home, but he can also and always point back, well, I did raise the need for peace. I did discuss the war. I did say we favoured a peaceful outcome to this, and therefore I didn't dodge the topic.
At the beginning, we really saw the type of person that Micheál Martin was, the inner teacher that he was, where he gave Donald Trump a history lesson about how connected the multiple different presidents were. He took that from the beginning, didn't he? And he really set the tone for himself and gave himself his own platform to talk about what he was confident in. And then I think in the end, Donald Trump said, oh, well, the Irish are great politicians. It was a good start.
Yeah, it was a good start. And Micheál Martin has been talking about it all week long. I've heard it a million times now on this trip. But Donald Trump seemed to have been very impressed by that, very impressed by the fact Donald Trump said, oh, I think 26 presidents have had some Irish, lineage in their family. And he mentioned it again on the Capitol at the Speaker's lunch here a short while ago. And Donald Trump seems to be impressed by that. And he said on a couple of occasions here, he said, you're great politicians. The Irish are great politicians. You're tough and you're great fighters and you're great politicians and you're great at doing business, and your governments have clearly been better business people than many of our former presidents here. So he has appealed to that sort of side of Donald Trump that just loves the sort of prowess and the tough spirit and the achievement. And Donald Trump does seem taken by the Irish here on Capitol Hill, voicing very strong admiration for everything Ireland has achieved, and particularly its diaspora in the US. And you can tell that those kind of comments by Micheál Martin and that history lesson did appeal to Trump.
Mary, can you just talk us through a little bit how, I mean, I suppose you're through the worst of it now, as it were, and there's not much left to this 4-day trip. How is the rest of the day going to play out over there?
So the only thing left really is the Shamrock exchange at the White House. Now, a lot of people think that the Oval Office meeting and the Shamrock exchange is all the same thing. But what happens is the Taoiseach has his meeting in the Oval Office, his discussions. It's a bilateral meeting between the two leaders. That's in the morning. Then he comes up here to the Capitol for the Speaker's lunch, and then he heads back to the White House for what is the sort of more social ceremony, the fun bit, and that is the exchange of the bowl of shamrocks. Of course, things can happen in that too. Like, we're not through the gap yet. This is where Enda Kenny made his speech previously at that Shamrock ceremony, criticising or taking aim at Trump's migration policy. So there will be more speeches, a speech by Micheál Martin, a speech by Donald Trump, but that's more of a social occasion. Another thing to point out is that anyone can turn up possibly to this ceremony. Donald Trump is in charge of the invite list. Now we understand that, people that he previously had in the White House, like Conor McGregor, aren't going to attend, but we don't know who's going to attend, and could any potential guests create awkwardness for Micheál Martin? That's just the one final piece of this trip, and once that's over, Micheál Martin, I think, will be out the gap and probably glad to be getting on the plane to European Council meeting in Brussels, whatever that might bring.
Mary, finally, as Conal said, you're through the worst of it now at this stage. You've been 4 days, is it, over in the US, 2 days in Philly and 2 days in DC. Can you tell me how you think overall this trip has been for the Taoiseach? Has it been a success? Was there anything that he kind of tripped on throughout it?
I think it's been a success because he's been very eager also to show that this relationship is not just about one man. It's not about Donald Trump and the Oval Office. There's so much more to this, which is why his schedule, I think, was quite clever. He visited Philadelphia first, where, where American independence was born. He pressed the role of Irish people in America's independence, and also sporting links as well. Villanova University in Philadelphia, which is where the late Ronnie Delaney first trained did his scholarship, and Ronnie Delaney was there when he won his Olympic medal, and Sonia O'Sullivan and others have gone there as well. So he was doing the sporting links, the cultural links, which was a very easy sell, in the week that's in it with the Oscars, and then the political links. But it was also very clever that Micheál Martin has come here with the announcement of €6 billion or dollars of investment from Irish companies in the United States. And that was placed in the Wall Street Journal, that story, a couple of days before his visit. We know that Donald Trump reads the Wall Street Journal. And we also know that Donald Trump watches Fox News supposedly at 6 o'clock every evening. And at 6 o'clock yesterday evening in Washington, the interview with Micheál Martin appeared on Fox News. There was one audience member in mind for that interview. That interview was not for America. That interview was for Donald Trump. And in it, Micheál Martin again talking about the investment that Irish companies are making in the United States, 200,000 jobs in the United States by Irish companies. And interestingly then, at the speaker's lunch here, Donald Trump was talking about that, saying, "Oh, that's that's very clever of Ireland doing business here." You can tell that message from Micheál Martin and where it was placed in the particular media outlets appealed to Donald Trump. So the trip was very carefully curated from that point of view, and was always going to be high stakes, especially coming at a time where Donald Trump has this big consideration of the war in Iran. But I think Micheál Martin has got across the fact that the business links are a two-way street, as he put it a number of times. The fact that the ties between US and Ireland are actually older than America itself in many respects, older than the United States of America itself. And the fact that, there's this sort of interrelationship thread that goes through sport, that goes through culture and the arts, and not just business or political. So I think from an American perspective, and if the American audience is his target, this was a success for Micheál Martin. Whatever criticism he gets back home, I think he'll be willing to take that for having got his and achieved his objectives that he set to achieve once he came out here.
And I think, Mary, that's where we will leave it today. Thank you for joining us from Capitol Hill, and my thanks to Conal Thomas as well for joining me in studio. We'll be back next week for more Indo Politics. As ever, you can find all the latest episodes on the Irish Independence YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcasts. See you next week.